today I've decided to talk to you about my worst ever panic attack. I'm going to tell you the story of a day that I have a really bad panic attack, but now I'm still not scarred from it. It doesn't make me feel like I can't leave my house anymore. It doesn't make me feel afraid anymore. And this was just one really, really bad day when I had really, really bad anxiety. I want you to go away and I want you to think you might be in the worst part of your anxiety right now. You might be having a really bad, horrific time, but you can get better from it. This isn't going to be you for the rest of your life. This isn't going to be you struggling for the rest of your life. You can get better and you will get better. I think also the more and more we share our horrific anxiety experiences, the more light we shed on anxiety. Anxiety is something I feel like is not talked about enough. It's something that's very debilitating and crippling and horrific. And the more I talk about on the internet how bad my anxiety was and how bad my anxiety can be still, I think the better it is. The more I talk about it, the more that's one more voice for people with anxiety, it's one more voice for mental illness, and that's just the way I see it. I'm not afraid about sharing my stories. I'm not afraid about looking like I'm attention seeking or ill or whatever. I'm not afraid of that, but I know some of you might be afraid of that. So for me to share my voice, I'm sharing a voice for me and you, if that makes sense. I don't know, I just thought I'd share my story with you today. So, I've had a lot of really, really bad panic attacks and anxiety-ridden days in my life. I've been suffering with anxiety since I was about 10 and I'm now 20. So it's been a long time that I've been suffering with really, really bad anxiety. But the one that sticks out in my head is last year. I was going through a really bad time. I've talked about it on this channel a lot. It was when I left college and there was a good 6 months to a year period where I didn't do anything. I didn't have a job, didn't have to go to college. I didn't really go out with my friends, didn't really go out with my boyfriend. I literally pretty much just sat in my house all the time because I was too anxious to do anything. And my dad said to me, let's go for a trip in the countryside, and it was a really, really beautiful place we went to. So he decided that me and him should go away for 2 nights to this really beautiful place. There was a big massive lake there and there was loads of really beautiful trees and forest. It was honestly one of the most gorgeous places I've ever been. And the little cabin, like flat thing we were staying in was really gorgeous as well. It was just a really, really beautiful place that we went to. But that day we were leaving, I felt obviously really anxious, like I did every single minute of every single day at that point of my life. But it's difficult to understand when you're that anxious, whether you're anxious for that event or whether you're actually ill. It's really hard to know how you feel about things when you're that anxious. You can't tell whether you should just try and do it or whether you should just miss that one out, if that makes sense. I know a lot of you will be able to sympathise and understand that. Sometimes you have to just be like, okay, I can't do it today and just let it go. But you can't really tell whether you should push yourself and do these things or whether you should just say, okay, this is something I can't do just now and just leave it. I decided to go. And so it was like a 2 or 3 hour journey up there, and it was very, very anxiety filled, but I tried to put it to the back of my mind and tried to sing along to music in the car, and I just tried to be okay, even though I was feeling really unwell and really just, it was just really unbearable. And I was like driving through all these really beautiful places and I was like, I can't do this is so hard. But anyway, we got there after driving for like 2 or 3 hours and I felt so unwell. I was sitting there and I was trying to be positive because I knew my dad was really excited about being in this place. He loves like nature and stuff like that, so he was really excited about being in this really nice place and going for really nice walks, and he was really excited about the next couple of days. And I was just sitting there feeling awful, feeling absolutely awful. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go for a little lie down for a bit. And so I went into my bedroom and I watched some stuff on my laptop and I was trying to take my mind off it, but it just wasn't working and nothing that I did worked. I felt so horrible. So after being there for about an hour, my dad went out and he was like looking around and stuff, and he kept talking about how excited he was and how beautiful he thought the place was, and I just felt so ill and I was just like, what do I do? So I just tried to calm down, and then I felt the rise of panic, and I felt, you know what it's like when you start to feel that panic building up and you're like, uh-oh, it's gonna happen. So I went outside and I we had a little balcony. I went outside and it was freezing cold. It was snowing. It's Scotland. It was freezing. And I was just sitting out on this balcony trying to calm down. I was shaking. I was roasting. I felt like I was going to be sick any second. I just felt absolutely horrible, and I can't actually explain how I was feeling to you. I can't explain it. It was just horrific. And so I went back inside and I said, I don't feel well. And then as soon as I said I don't feel well, the tears came, the panic properly happened, and I was in full-blown panic attack mode. I was shaking, my hands were sweating, and I was just shouting and just so anxious. Dad was like, right, okay, well, we've driven like 3 hours up here, like what do you want us to do? Do you want to go home? Like what do you want to do? And I was in this horrible predicament of I either go home, 3 hours back, which was going to be absolutely horrific, like driving 3 hours in a car when you're having a panic attack is horrible. At the same time, staying somewhere I didn't know in this place that, oh god, it was just like a lose-lose situation and I didn't know what to do. So after about half an hour, my dad phoned the person that was like giving us the room and was like, I've got to go, my daughter's not well, we're gonna have to go home. And I just felt so awful and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to, and oh, it was just so hard. It was so like the worst day ever. I got into the car and we'd driven for about 5 minutes and I was like, no, pull over, I'm gonna be sick. This happened about literally about 20 times. We pulled over because I felt like I was going to be sick. I was just panic. It was just sheer panic for literally about an hour or two. Sheer horrific panic. It was a literal snow blizzard outside and my dad let us have both windows down. Snow was like pounding into the car and I just couldn't have the windows up because I was so scared. And I think when you're having an anxiety panic attack, if there's something really horrific happening to distract you from it, it's good. So I was having this ridiculous blizzard blowing into my face, but it made me feel better because it was something to focus on. The fact that I was literally freezing to death was better to focus on than feeling sick and feeling anxious and feeling horrific. So we drove for about an hour in this snow blizzard with both the windows down, and I just, it's so hard to explain how a panic attack feels. It literally feels like the worst thing ever, and it just rules your life. And from that day I just felt like it completely ruled my life and it was just the worst day ever. I went home and I felt so guilty. I felt so horrifically guilty that I had ruined the couple of nights we were staying away. I felt so bad that we came home and my mum was there and she was looking forward to having a couple of days by herself, and it was just like you feel so bad and it was just horrible. It was the most horrible time. It was the worst panic attack I've ever had. And for the next couple of days after that I felt really unwell and I just felt so tired and horrible and guilty and ugh. Since then, since having that horrific thing about a year ago I think that was, I have driven 4.5, 5 hours down to Leeds and back, and I was alright. I wasn't okay, I wasn't fine, I wasn't like good, but I was okay. I didn't die. I wasn't sick, nothing bad happened. I stayed overnight somewhere for 2 nights and I was actually okay. So if you're going through the worst time of your life right now with anxiety, if you're really struggling, it gets better. It does get better. It's about taking little tiny baby steps, and honestly, after that horrific time I had, which doesn't sound that horrific, but at the time, the reason it doesn't sound that horrific is because I can't explain to you how bad I felt and how sick I felt and how fevery I felt and just how, oh, it was just like so hard to explain, but I wish I could explain it to you in a word, but just sheer panic. But since then I have managed to take little tiny baby steps and then actually managed to travel longer than that, double the time of that, and be okay. I've managed to get a job since then and I'm okay. You know, not saying everything becomes a million times better and you're fine and you never have anxiety again. Of course that's not of course that's not what happens. But you will start to lead a fairly normal life that you never thought you'd be able to live, and it gets better. It just gets better. Every tiny little step that happens, you leaving your house for 2 minutes, those things actually build up and you should be so proud of yourself every time you do something that's really small. I hope this video was okay, and I hope that it had the effect that I wanted it to have. I just wanted to share with you a bad time, and I wanted you to feel not so alone in these horrific times that you have. And I wanted to share how debilitating and crippling and horrific anxiety is, and I just want to, that's what I want this to be about. I want this to be about shedding light on anxiety, not depression, not bipolar, not... I want it to be about anxiety because it's something that's just not talked about enough. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye!